Hi, and welcome to the Father-Daughter Experience. I'm Cesare.
And I'm Celia.
And today we're going to wrap up the end of the year with an episode on New Year's resolutions.
Woo!
What are the most common ones? Do we do them? Are we going to set them? What do we think of kind of the top resolutions? So we thought that'd be a good way to end the year and then to kind of kick off the new year with something that people traditionally do talk about.
Cool. All right. So we found a list on the internet that we want to cover of the top 10 most common, most popular New Year's resolutions. We're sure there's a million other lists on the internet that have slight variations, but we thought this one was pretty representative.
Yeah, it's a pretty standard list, and I think it's pretty general. I think if you did a Family Feud version of New Year's resolutions,
They'd probably all be out there.
You'd probably get 9 out of the 10 pretty quick and easy.
Sure. So top 10 most popular. Number 1, we'll read the list and then we'll kind of discuss them.
Yeah, for
Number
sure.
1, exercise more. 2, lose weight. 3, get organized. 4, learn a new hobby or skill. 5, live life to the fullest. 6, make more money / spend less money. 7, quit smoking. 8, spend more time with family and friends. 9, travel more. And 10, read more. So what do we think about that top 10?
I mean, okay, so the first thing that strikes me with this is that they're just super general in terms of what they are. These are just like umbrella. I think that's probably what a lot of these lists are, right? They're just umbrella terms for a lot of these. And some of them to me, I guess, are multifunctional. Mm-hmm. Like to see exercise more and lose weight at the top. I mean, to me, losing weight is a side effect of if you're exercising more or... Right. It's funny that like eating better is not on here. Like, I guess maybe that goes under lose weight. But so
sure.
I think for all intents and purposes, I think the list is fine. I don't think there's anything I'm shocked or surprised by.
I think it's very aspirational though. Or I suppose maybe it's exactly aspirational. But I think I mean in a, if I wrote these on my mirror, I wouldn't be like, yeah,
I'm so pumped.
I'm living life to the fullest when I have to go to work and stuff like that.
I'm pumped to travel more.
Right. Like, well, where am I traveling?
Well, okay. So, yeah, I think we're fine with the list. I think, these obviously aren't specific to any one person. So I think going from here, we can kind of talk about why do we think people fail at New Year's resolutions?
Sure. I think... For me, and I think that this list is a perfect representation of it, there's like a lack of specificity and like direction, I think, with a lot of these. Like, to me, saying, like we were just joking, like, I travel more. Okay, well, I don't think that that's really a goal or like a resolution so much as like, I'm going to go to Canada, or I'm going to... I'm going to book that trip to Japan or something like that. Like, to me, there needs to be a specific, or I'm going to read 10 books this year. Well, I'm going to read 15 new books.
Sure. You want to see people having
real
specifics.
I think if I may.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say about the travel thing.
Sure.
I think one of the things you could say, I'm going to travel more. We've had this conversation recently with your job and my job around, paid time off. And, having PTO. Yes. And I think there are organizations that we've been looking at when we've been talking about some of these things in terms of travel policies, because our organizations have very different travel policies. Mm-hmm. Yours is very restrictive and not very, robust. And then I work at a company where it's unlimited PTO.
Right.
And on top of that, they require you. Yeah, yes. They say that they can't make you take time off. It's not like,
hopefully you take 2 weeks at least during the year. It's like, take 2 weeks and then
they want you to take a minimum of 2 weeks off and 1 full week in a long stretch.
Sure.
Like, they don't want you to take 10 individual days off. They want you to take take 5 days here and there, or make a couple of long weekends and then take 1 full 5-day stretch off.
Right.
So I think you could have on your list, I'm going to use my PTO, because I think there are people that feel they have to work all the time, and they don't have the opportunity to take paid time off because they feel so stressed out about work. So, okay, continue what you're going to say about kind of specificity.
Sure. I really just think like I know not everybody's brain works like mine. It would be weird if everybody's brain did. But in my head, I am not going to implement, like, I'll use a Celia example, which is that, like, if I just say I want to write more, that's not very helpful for me.
Sure.
Not really. And it doesn't help me quantify that I did it by the end of the year. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I say my New Year's resolution for 2023 is to write more, and January 1st, 2024 rolls around, and I'm like,
did I write more?
Well, right. And I could look back and be like, I literally wrote things.
Sure.
But like, I wrote
Hey, Google,
for myself.
what was my word count?
No, right. Like, I wrote for myself. I wrote a project. I finished a project.
Well, technically, you're doing that for work now, too, a lot more.
Well, that's what
you're
I was just
writing
going
a
to
lot
say.
more.
Like,
You're technically writing a lot more posts, even though you're ghostwriting some of them.
Right. And so even though I am good at it and enjoy it to a degree, it's not writing in my own voice. It's not writing my own stories or things I'm interested in. So I think a better thing for me there would be like, I write twice a day, or I write, maybe that's too much. I write 3 days a week.
Or you sit down for 15 minutes and
Right.
you do writing for you. I think so.
Yeah, I think it's just about making it like, is it servicing you in a way that you can look back at the end of the year and be like, I did do that. I really did do it. Even if it wasn't perfect every day, like, the point of a resolution is you want to see a change of some kind in some aspect of your life, or you want to like have accomplished
improvement or
something.
betterment.
So I think that the more specific you can be, the more rewarded you'll feel in the new year, in the next new year, because you can be like, oh, I did it. And then you know, like, okay, sick, I did that this year. Maybe I just want to like re-up my lease on my resolution and like make it more robust.
I'm going to do it again. Yeah.
Or I'm going to choose something new to do the same thing with.
So I think we both fell into the same category here on why people
Sure.
fail.
Yeah,
why
do
you
you think?
Well, you said specificity, they don't have direction. And to me, I said, I think when people talk about their resolutions, if they share them, and I don't know how often people really do them, which is kind of curious. I think people talk about those
Yes.
things. I think
Like,
people,
what are your resolutions?
I think people look at the new year as a way to refresh, because you typically have a lot of time off at the end of the year, and then you're starting fresh. So it's almost like, oh, I have this reset. I can take this time. So I'm going to say, I'm going to do these things. I'm going to exercise more. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to travel more. There's not really a plan to them. So I think that's why people end up failing on these things. If you just say, I want to exercise more, it's kind of like your writing thing. If you say, I want to write more or I want to exercise more, it's like, well, give yourself an attainable, I look at resolutions this way, an attainable goal, yet that's a challenge to you, because that's how you're going to better yourself. If it's a really easy, like just kind of step over the bar, I mean, good that you did it, but you didn't really push yourself. So to me, an example I would say is, if you want to exercise more, give yourself a fitness goal, right? I want to run a half marathon this year.
Sure.
And then don't say I'm going to run a half marathon in February.
Right.
Like, that's just asinine. So look at it like, hey, you know what? I know that there's this one that is in the fall. I can start running. I can start getting better at it. And then I can run this race later on. To me, the losing weight one it puts too much of an onus on just like the number around what you weigh. It's not really about making healthy choices or making a healthy plan. To me, you could say, hey, well, I'm going to exercise more, and therefore I'm very likely to lose some weight. But to me, it's more of in order to lose weight, what I really want to do is get better about, eating at home, preparing my own meals.
Yes.
I'm going to reduce the amount of times I eat out a week, down to like once a week or whatever that is. So I think that's really where resolutions fall off, is just people don't have a plan. And this goes, my last little bit on this is, I think it's metrics. I think coming from a sales background and doing a lot of things I'm doing for work currently, you need metrics to
measure your
to measure yourself and be like, hey, and we'll get to this when we talk a little bit about our own resolutions. But I think the idea is that you want to be able to say, this is my goal. Did I hit it?
Yeah.
And it can't just be like, write more, because you really can't.
Because then you could really debate, like, well, did I do it or not? And then, like, the bar is not there as intentionally of, like...
Correct.
Sure, I wrote more. I wrote a bunch of texts.
I wrote a bunch of texts. Well, I go back to your example of if you say I'm going to write 15 minutes a day every day, you can go back and look and say like, did I do?
How many days did I do that?
How many days did I do
Majority of
that?
days? Sick.
Right.
I achieved my goal.
I did it 25 days in the month.
Yeah.
So what are the reasons?
Do you usually set your own resolutions?
I don't.
Have you ever?
I think I've done it like everybody else has done it in the past, where I haven't been intentional about what I'm going to do, but I say things like I'm going to exercise more. I'm absolutely one of these people with the vague ones, which is why I know this is why people fail on these things. The times where I've ever been successful at things is because there are parameters, there's a checklist, there are milestones to hit. Like I've been successful in sales in my job because I know that I have a quota.
Right.
And I know what I need to do to get to that quota, and I know how many deals I need to make. And then I make a plan, and it's basically so many sales at this number, like 10 of these sales, 20 of these sales, and 30 really small ones.
Sure.
And if I do those 10, 20, 30, I'm going to get to my number.
Right.
I've never really done that with resolutions.
Sure.
It hasn't been something I've sat down and intentionally talked about. But I don't know. What about you? Have you done it? Like formally?
No. I feel like maybe like when I was younger, when like you're in school and they're like, let's do like a New Year's activity. Sure, I'm sure I like wrote down stuff, but I can't honestly look back at any time, especially recently, that I was like, yes, my New Year's resolution is to do this thing, and then I did it. No. Because I feel like I am like sort of constantly goal posting my year of like, I just pick things to work towards, but like not in like a resolution-y way.
I think you also have a tendency to get very excited about new opportunities. So I think I think what happens with you is
it's that ADHD in it.
You've got to be careful because I think you start to stack them up. By the end of the year, you have the ones you started with, the ones you got. You're like, oh, in April I'm going to do this. I'm going to take Taekwondo. Now I'm going to do. Now I'm gonna go scuba dive. Like I'm saying random stuff that catches your interest.
That
right?
that probably was one of my New Year's resolutions a while ago. I wanted to get scuba certified.
Right, scuba certified.
And then I never did that.
Like,
and then I never did it.
I want to do burlesque, right? Like I want to do this.
That's a newer one.
No. But I'm saying like these newer things. But that's one of those things that came up at the end of the year, and you're like, I want to do this, and it's like.
Well, and then I was like, Celia, slow the fuck down.
You can't have 47.
Can't do it all.
Well, I think that's another
way. You can,
way.
but you have to
skipping back to
measure things out.
Skipping back a little bit, I think it's also you need to be smart about the resolutions that you set and the number of them.
Well, yes, because we were
you can't do all 10.
When we were preparing for this episode, we were sort of talking about like this idea that like I think too when people are vague and then they're like, I'm going to do these 12 things, I'm going to eat better and exercise better, I'm going to read more, I'm going to spend less time with people I don't like, I'm going to go out and explore and travel more and meet new people. It's like people start to get stressed out under the honestly created weight of your expectations of like hitting all of these goals.
Right.
When it's like nobody actually told you had to do any of those things, you told yourself, and now you're overwhelmed because you were like, well, I have to do these and I'm not doing them, and now I feel like I'm not doing anything.
Right.
And then you get like that analysis paralysis of like, I don't even know where to start. Guilty myself. But I think like picking a few things to work towards as your resolution will be much better. So
with that being said,
I said that we should challenge ourselves to each write down 3 resolutions for 2023 that then we can check in on this time a year from now.
I mean, we can definitely do a year from now
if we did them.
Well, I think we'd do like a mid-year
later, but I think it's also nice that like we can still a year from now be like, we did them all.
We can do our own. Sure. We can do our own performance reviews.
So, would you like to go with your 3 first?
Do you want to go back and forth, one each?
No.
You want to go all 3 for me and then all 3 for you?
Yes.
Okay.
That is what I'd like to do.
All right.
Thank you.
So what I said. So the end of this year, your mother and I run together, or used to run together more often. Your mother has always been much more consistent. It's a big part of her routine. She goes almost every day. And over the last, I would say 3 to 4 months, I have just not been running. nearly as much at all. I shouldn't say as much. I haven't been running at all. So to me, one of the things that I know that I can do, because your mother goes, all I have to do is get my ass in the car with her and go over to the park, is recommit to running with your mother. And to me, I want to start with 3 times a week. I mean, I feel like that's super attainable. I have started a new job, a new role, new year, new me, new job.
For sure. Slay.
But I definitely have a little bit of control over my schedule, so I know the days I can just be like, hey, let's go running before I have these meetings. And so I want to be running at least 3 times a week, at least to start. And then for me to basically say to myself, I really want to gear myself up towards a fall marathon. We've talked about running a marathon in the fall again, kind of in that October time frame. There's a couple that we've looked at, maybe rerunning the Twin Cities, which was our first marathon, or maybe doing one in Utah. We looked at the St. George. We looked at the St. George. We were registered for it. We both got hurt a couple of years ago. Then COVID happened, so we didn't get to do that one. But that's on my list. So that's my first one, is recommitting to running.
Cool.
My second one, read more. Which is on that list. I literally wrote read more and then LOL next to it,
For sure.
because I was being kind of a jerk to myself on this one. But I do want to read more, but purposefully and intentionally. With my role, I now oversee quite a decent number of people. And so one of the things I want to make sure that I'm doing is reading more around kind of some leadership topics, more business focused topics, really building more of my knowledge around sales and marketing. And so I set myself the goal of at least 2 to 3 books a month. I think that's attainable. Even with travel, it's one of those things where it's just like, if I can just find a paperback, bring it with me, throw it in my bag, sitting at the airport, I don't have to listen to music or goof around on my phone or whatever, but I can just, grab a coffee and read. So I think 2 to 3, again, it's a metricable number.
Love that.
And then your mother and I have talked about this because, again, last year we did some travel, but not as much as we really like to do, and not even big travel.
Sure.
I wrote my goal is quarterly travel that is not work related.
Oh, I like that.
I will definitely be
That's nice.
I will definitely be traveling for work, but I think it's important to not go more than 3 months without taking a kind of a personal trip. So this coincides, right? This is where multiple things can coincide at once. I think a few of the things were spend more time with family, travel more, and live life to the fullest, right? So all 3 of those can go into
specific.
This quarterly travel that's not work related. And I want to pick some different places. We always like to go to some standbys. If you've listened to this podcast, you know that we like to go to Disney World. That's usually a once a year kind of thing for us. Usually coincides with work travel for me. But we want to pick some new places. We do like to visit old places. I know that at least probably second quarter is your mother and I's anniversary. So we've already talked about going to Maine for that. So it would be our 20th anniversary in Maine where we got married.
Oh my gosh.
And so
how romantic.
I got to figure out something for January, February, March. Maybe we do something more local. Maybe we take a trip to a city we haven't been to in Texas before, go out west.
We'll never forget that we're traveling multiple weekends in April. So you kind of get
That second quarter.
Well,
April is Q2.
Not in my head.
April's Q2. I
April's
already got
where
May.
the year really starts.
Yeah, April's gonna be busy. So those are my 3: recommit to running, read more, and then quarterly travel. I think those are all attainable goals that we can definitely check in on and see how I'm doing.
I like those. Those are great.
All right, so let's do yours.
Okay, my first one is to finish editing my fiction narrative podcast script and submit by the early deadline to AFF. AFF is Austin Film Festival, which I have submitted to scripts to before. But part of my pillars of Celia intentions for the new year are pursuing comedy and writing more intentionally. So all of my goals are really in alignment with those 2 things that I want to do. So
when is that deadline?
I would need to look it up. I believe the early deadline is
I
June.
was gonna say it sounds
And then
like
I'm pretty sure the normal deadline is July, and I believe the late deadline is like September.
sure. You just want to get
So
it done.
I want it to be done. Plus, it's the cheapest to submit when it's the early deadline.
There you go. Early bird.
So that's one we could probably check in on pretty early in the year.
Sure.
Because it'll have passed. Okay, my second one is enter funniest person in Austin 2023, even if I don't make it past the first round. There are like over 250 people who like enter the like preliminaries.
Sure.
And obviously there's like a very established comedy scene, and people who are like comedy vets also enter the contest and stuff. But because I want to do stand up and focus on like writing and comedy more in the new year, I think having the goalpost of like, I think late spring, early summer is when the preliminaries start. So taking the first half of the year to be like, all right, I'm doing more open mics, I'm writing more stuff, I'm really putting together a set I know is funny, so that when preliminaries roll around, if I can get my foot in the door to be there, I'm like ready.
Can I give you some managerial feedback?
No.
What if you had, do you have it in your head, like how many times you want to go and do
No.
stand up previously? You just want to enter the thing. I know you're already going and doing a lot of stand up. So I just didn't know if you wanted to be like, hey, I'm going to go like at least this many times a month.
No, because I feel like what's hard about open mics here in Austin is that a lot of them are pretty unpredictable. So
As to whether or not you get on
I
stage.
try to make not even that, like a lot of them will get canceled last minute or replaced by a show or
That's fun to show up.
Yeah, and it feels and then you're like, well, I guess I'll stay here and watch, like I should see what like is going on. But it always sucks when you think you're going to like a free open mic and then they're like, it's $15 entry for the show that's happening. And you're like, what about the mic? And they're like, no mic. And you're like, you guys should post that on your social media. Why else do you have them? Anyway, so
Okay.
I think it's easier for me to build some habits around that goal versus say like, I want to go to an open mic like 3 times a week or whatever.
Sure.
Just because I feel like even that's like up to the whim of the wind. Do I want to go to a 10 p.m. open mic 3 times a week? Not really.
No.
So,
All right.
and then my last one is complete the Artist's Way 12-week program all the way through without restarting. The Artist's Way is a writer's like lifestyle and practice where you do like your daily pages. So every morning you wake up and you write 3 uninterrupted pages of thoughts, and then you do that every day for the whole process. And each week is about like a certain part of your process and like making intentional space for art and creativity in your life. I was gifted my copy of The Artist's Way by a friend's mom when I was in college,
Okay.
who was like, Celia's a writer, give this to her. And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And it sat in my glove box in my car for the longest time. And then mom and I were actually talking about it like a few months ago, and I dug it up from like the boxes in my outside closet in my apartment and was like, all right, I'll start doing this. So I started doing my morning pages, but I wasn't really following like the guides. I was just doing the
You were
pages.
just doing it.
So in the new year, I would like to do the full 12 weeks all the way through. Like uninterrupted.
Follow the plan.
Follow the plan. See where I'm at.
Stick to the plan.
Yeah. So I don't know when I'm going to do that yet. In theory, January 1st, but we'll see if that happens.
And we'd be able to check in with that 12 weeks later
That's true.
from whatever the start point is.
Slay. All right. So those are our resolutions
Mm-hmm.
for 2023.
I think they're good.
They are good. I like them.
They are attainable. They will
They've
require
got
some work.
spirit.
They are
They've
not
got fire.
general.
That's so true.
There's a plan associated with multiple ones in
we
here.
can check in on them.
We can definitely check in on them. We can hold each other accountable to them.
Love all of that.
Yeah. No, I think this is a good way to go. I think if you are listening here, definitely drop us a comment, send us some questions, let us know.
On social media, send us, what are your resolutions? What do you think? Do you do them? Do you not?
Do you think they're foolish?
Do you want to do them the way that we did them?
Do you want to commit with us?
You let us know. We'll hold you accountable.
Yeah, put it in the comments, and we'll come back and be like,
and we'll be like, this guy said he was going to do this.
have you done it? We'll call you out. We'll look right at you.
It's true. All right. Well, you guys know where to find us at FatherDaughterEXP, where it matters, and where you want to find us, mostly TikTok and Instagram. and wherever you listen to your podcasts, probably. If you have any questions, thoughts, or opinions, you can email us at fatherdaughterexperience@gmail.com. Love you guys so much. Be safe. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, y'all.
Bye.